getting 3 MRIs when I thought I was covered by health insurance. So I have chronic pain in my shoulder and arm that I have been getting physiotherapy on. After 2 sessions, my physio basically said that my arm is so messed up that he doesn't know what the issue is and said he'd refer me for 3 MRIs. He asked where I was covered with my health insurance, and having checked it recently, I listed out the places I remembered. I get the MRIs done, and on the call, they asked if I was covered. I said yes, and was told that my insurance doesn't do direct settlement with the clinic, so I would need to claim it later, but that the cost would be $810 for the 3 scans. It's a lot of money, but I think to myself that this is the first clinic to get back to me, and I'll be able to get this sorted quickly and get the money back. Although it pains me to spend it, I'm lucky enough that I'll be able to get by until the money gets back into my account. Anyway, today I went to put the claim in and I discovered that I must have misread the eligible clinics list because the clinic is not listed. So it looks like I just spent $810 on 3 MRI scans when there were 3 other clinics within a 20-minute drive where I could have gotten it done for free. Thankfully, this won't break me financially, but I will feel it with my wedding fast approaching and I'm currently trying to save for a house. TLDR. Misread my insurance policy and thought I was covered for scans at a clinic. Instead, spent over $800 when it would have been free at 3 other clinics near to me. Realizing I wasn't washing my hair right for 20+ years. Okay. So warning. This is very much gross. Over the past several weeks, I have been feeling these weird skin-like but not fully attached lumps on my head. I've been scratching and picking them off fully, or so I thought, and didn't give it a second thought. Well, today my boyfriend takes a good look at my scalp in one of those spots that I was scratching because he was curious as to what I was doing. Apparently, I was really going at it without noticing. He practically gasped and asked me if I had hit my head, or if it hurt. I was stunned for a moment. It only felt like a little dry skin, and that began my panic-induced examination. As it turns out, my entire scalp is covered in ranges of flaky to thick lumps of dandruff. And because I have a lot of hair, it isn't noticeable on the outside unless you start going through layer by layer. I obsessively begin to scratch and scrape my entire scalp to the point where it's now in pain. There's flakes and chunks entangled throughout my hair. I am freaking out. I start Googling, thinking I must be dying. All my hair is about to fall out, etc. Yeah, no. Apparently, you are supposed to scrub your scalp when you shampoo. I never knew this. Also, I immediately put my wet hair in a bun or braid every time I washed it so it didn't dry for literally 24 hours and caused more dry skin buildup. I really hope that after years, plus scraping for hours today, I haven't really fucked my scalp up. TLDR. I haven't scrubbed my scalp for 20 years because I didn't know you had to. I have been scraping chunks of dry skin off my scalp for the past few hours. I feel disgusting. Accidentally causing a dumpster fire, literally, next to my workplace. So here's my story. At my workplace, 1 floor beneath the lobby, there's this garbage area that belongs to the restaurant right next to it, and it's also a smoking spot for workers in the building. In that area, there's this big metal garbage bin which I'll occasionally throw my cigarette butt there. Now here's the major disclaimer. I'm usually very mindful about tossing a cigarette butt to the garbage after I make sure I toss out the lit cigarette head. Not sure if that's how you refer it. Well, today I tossed a cigarette butt like I do from time to time, but this day, apparently, it wasn't put out completely. I'm not really sure though, but after a while, a big fire started there. At this point, I have no clue it was because of me. I didn't even consider it. The whole ordeal was really short, but we made few jokes about it at the office, and then my boss calls me over to her office. I walk in and she gives me the most terrifying look. I asked her what's up, and she proceeds to show me surveillance footage of me tossing something in the bin. Naturally, I started panicking a bit, although I knew in my heart that it could have happened to anyone, and it's not like I did it on purpose, but apparently, the garbage bin is really close to balloon gases there, which was scary to think about, and I did not know that beforehand. Anyways, I explained myself to her and she told me that I would probably get called by the head of HR and head of maintenance in the building to clarify my story. I went over there and it went way better than I thought. All in all, they were nice, but I did stir some panic with higher-ups. I knew it was probably not going to happen, but I prepared myself to being fired today. Luckily, it's all good and now I can laugh about it a bit. Ordered a $43 bagel? This morning I found myself with free time and wanting to get out of a funk. I decided to take myself out to breakfast. My friends recommended a few places around town, and to easily compare the restaurants and prices I pulled them up in DoorDash rather than multiple phone browsers. I decided on the most delicious breakfast bagel I've ever seen. Toasted on a cheese and tomato bread, cream cheese, avocado, bacon, and I went crazy and added extra tomatoes. I had a plan and knew what I wanted. Out of curiosity, I wanted to see what DoorDash would charge to have it delivered. My $23 gourmet bagel and coffee would be $43 if ordered through the app. I audibly laughed and took a screenshot and threw nothing of it. I put my phone down to get ready to go, and when I got out of the shower, I realized I somehow hit the order button and my bagel was on its way. I somehow ordered the world's most expensive bagel. Was it worth it? Absolutely, but not for $43 bucks. This is probably my new favorite breakfast item, but would be way better in person and fresh and hot. For the record, even delivered lukewarm, it was spectacular. Forgetting that Gmail comes with a name header, I saw that my favorite brewery had brewer jobs open for full-time and weekend gigs, and I applied immediately without thinking, not remembering that the email listed on my resume was the wrong one. I emailed their HR department with the correct one. Then they replied, and I saw that my name was set to display the name Dead Soul. I'm so embarrassed that I immediately laid myself down on the floor on my stomach, and I haven't gotten up since. Not only did I use the wrong email on my resume, but I also had something unprofessional as my display name. I'm in agony at the idea that I'm not going to get this job at my favorite brewery in my town, because I forgot to change my name back. I've already set it back to my name, but the damage has been done. TLDR. I had the wrong email on my resume for a really important job, and on top of that, my display name on the correct email was something unprofessional and they saw it. I think I will seclude myself inside forever and never leave my house again so that no one looks upon my wretched existence. Tifu, and lost an entire bank account's worth of savings. I thought I was above falling for scams, that I was alert and careful about what I clicked and believed. But in the span of 2 weeks, I got my credit card locked and fell for one of the easiest scams ever. I've never felt more stupid and humiliated in my life. So it all began with a text saying that I had unclaimed rewards points waiting for me to redeem. I actually did have points outstanding on an account, but I was curious why the balance was suddenly so big. Still, it was a great deal. I just had to add a bit of money to get a smartwatch. So dumb me clicked the link and filled out the necessary information, including my credit card. I have 2FA on online transactions, and I immediately got a text that flagged a suspicious transaction for more than 100 times the amount I thought I entered. Right away, I called the bank and locked my card. I thought that was the end of that, and I would be more careful about clicking things willy-nilly without verifying the site. I would be getting a replacement credit card in the mail, and it would all be fine. Flash forward 2 weeks, and I get a call from my bank right before my lunch break, telling me that my new credit card would be coming in a few days' time. But before that, they'll have to give me a cashback on my accrued rewards points, since it won't be carrying over to the new account. Claiming rewards points? That was familiar. Oh well. There's nothing sus about this. They gave me their name after all. So, what if they asked me to pull up my banking app and keep it open, coincidentally preventing me from checking my emails? I'd have to watch out for the money after all. So what if they asked for the last digits of my savings account, or my username? They didn't ask for the password. So what if my bank has said several times not to share OTPs or login details ever? This was them calling me after all. Idiot. I fell for the same thing twice. Somehow, despite having what I thought was common sense and self-preservation, I gave them just enough personal information for them to log into my banking account. I willingly sent over several authorization codes because I was in a hurry to get something to eat. I ignored the part of me that questioned why they would need so much of my personal information. I ignored the world telling me that this was a scam. The call dropped 4 times and the authentication codes kept expiring. I stubbornly pushed through and got to watch in real time how a scammer got $30K out of me. All my savings for that account. They had the audacity to make the transfer's description, "Thanks, ma'am." They even waited for my reaction before hanging up. I thought I was smart. I thought I knew better, but I didn't. I've never felt stupider and more humiliated in my life. I had to call the bank and explain how I was an idiot and fell for such an easy trap. I had to tell my friends that I couldn't hang out because I didn't have anything to pay for travel and meals with. I had to tell my parents that their supposed responsible kid let all their savings get stolen from them. And that's not something they're ever going to forget. Making jokes about going blind in front of a blind person, then getting a full day of bad karma. I was at the park with my best friend, sitting in the grass chatting for an hour, and of course we can be a little out of pocket together. I made a joke telling her that if she ever went blind, I would make sure she never turned ugly, because she wouldn't be able to see herself, and we just went on about how I would practice her makeup and hair to her liking if she ever started to lose her eyesight so she could trust how she looks once she went fully blind. Bear in mind, we are some loud yappers and love a cold joke when we are alone, which we assumed we were. Then, the most ironic thing in the entire world happened. We realized there was a group of disabled adults sitting behind us. One in particular held a white cane with a red end and a pair of dark glasses. It was a blind man. Of all times, there just happened to be a blind man on a bench behind the patch of grass where we went on joking about going blind. How often does the topic of going blind come up? Never until the one day where I actually happened to come across a blind person. We felt so awful knowing that he most likely heard us. I can only imagine how hurtful that conversation was, and why he must have thought we were doing it to antagonize him, because the irony of that conversation at that time was unbelievable. Karma definitely got me afterwards. I got hand sanitizer all over my face while leaving the park. Trusted a fart was not just a fart. Right after getting ready for work, which I was running late to, my ears got plugged for some reason, so I could barely hear. District managers just happened to show up to my job while I was out of dress code. I stepped in concrete, my insurance spiked by 25%, and got into an argument with my significant other. Seriously, how could a day go so wrong? Moral of the story: be mindful of what you joke about because coincidences can be so damning ironic and karma is absolutely a bitch.